Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Tuesday, so it is Sam Kieth Day. So we're looking at the next issue of the MAXX series from the early 90s. This is issue 17, cover dated July 1995. Let me double check. Yeah, 1995. That's where we're at. I was 14 years old when this originally came out and I was not following the series anymore, as I've probably mentioned in the past few kind of episodes there. Stopped buying it where the MAXX started falling off and kind of focusing more on secondary characters and kind of introspective comics and, you know, all these other characters' past and problems and stuff. And I just wasn't into that. Still not that into it today. I'm reviewing them and, you know, it's kind of a slog sometimes, but, you know, I feel like I got to review the stuff I like, and the stuff I don't like, that's fine too. Can't like everything. If this is, you know, your favorite stuff, I'm certainly not negating your feelings about the series. It's just my opinion and what I think about it. Probably stuff that I'm into that you're not, and that's fine, right? That's what's great about comic books. There's such a vastness of styles and you know, types of genres. There's something for everybody, and we can't all like the same thing. That being said, though, I got to say about this issue, finally, this is kind of what I was expecting. In a weird kind of way, maybe if I'd hung in there for about, you know, 5 or 6 more issues back in the day, and I don't know if this is going to last, but I feel like this issue really is giving me what I want. I don't know if this was a criticism that Sam Kieth eventually kind of heard from the fans or whatever, but it feels like this issue is a little bit of fan service in as much as the, you know, the storyline veers back to the MAXX and more to the original kind of core concept while revealing some stuff. You know, I'd heard for a long time that eventually the MAXX was revealed to be a rabbit, which is funny, but if you know about his history, he was, you know, a character before early on where he was an actual rabbit in some early comics that Sam Kieth did before Dark Horse and before Image and stuff. So, you know, we know I know very little about that. I've seen little bribs and stuff on the internet here and there, but you know, this comic will kind of address that. So, talking about the cover, looks great. Some more painted mixed medium kind of stuff from Sam Kieth. He's even mixed in, there seems to be some fabric here, so it's like collage and texturing and stuff going on. So I don't know exactly how he's doing this. I bet you, you know, whatever he's drawing on is, you know, thick and crusty and there's bumps and it's 3D and stuff, but it looks cool. Some great Sam Kieth art. And let's open her up and I'll talk more about the storyline and why I really liked this issue as opposed to the last few I've been reviewing. So, story and art, Sam Kieth. Dialogue, Bill Messner-Loebs. Finishes, assistant Jim Sinclair. Lettering, Mike Heisler. Color, Steve Oliff. And all the optics. So I will say it's been consistent with the team, right? It hasn't changed much from the beginning, which is cool. So all of a sudden we're back with the MAXX and we're finding him in the Australian outback, right? On the splash page, but he's on a mountain of skulls. Very cool kind of visual. Love the kind of effects for the sky in the back here. Very cool. One thing before I move on, I want to mention, I feel like maybe it happens over the course of this issue. Maybe it's been happening in prior issues as well. But the design of the MAXX, it's pretty close here to, like, remember Darker Image in the first issue of the MAXX, where the design kind of, you know, is circular, kind of comes in between the eyes and then back out with the teeth, right? But I feel like over last few issues, it's been narrowing, and Sam Kieth has been changing it up a bit, and he's doing cartoonier versions where it changes shape. And here's an example where, like, it still kind of has that rounded aspect at the top to a certain extent, but then it just kind of comes straight down, and it's quite different from the original look. Obviously, on this here, he's doing kind of a cartoony face, so I'll forgive him for that, and it's probably very small. But as we go through this issue, you'll notice, I'll point it out, that the shape of that changes, you know, to eventually where it just kind of becomes just one band coming down the middle, and it's quite different from the original look of the MAXX. So he's in the outback, right? And then all of a sudden here, he's, you know, back on Earth. Julie feels sick here. I'm assuming it's because she's pregnant, right? She's got whatever you want to call that. I'm not quite sure, when you feel like throwing up, right? And the MAXX is, you know, been invited back. This is what the storyline says, you know, to Julie's, even though they had kind of their issues with each other, with her getting pregnant and him thinking she was slutty. And right here, you know, Julie's having her apartment changed and refurbished or something, right? So that's what's going on here. Some great depictions of the MAXX here, very moody and dark, which I appreciate and like, and I want to see from Sam Kieth. I love when he does those bold outlines here. He very often kind of just slacks off on the hands, but it's kind of charming and interesting. But see, look at the design on his face there. It's slowly just becoming a band, and really the design is changing a lot. You know, I don't know. I think I prefer the original, to be honest, right? I feel like the lines coming down here when they would kind of peter out and line up with the teeth looked a little bit better. But, you know, that's the changes that are happening in this issue. It's a small thing. It's not a huge detail. So Sarah's basically explaining to the MAXX, you know, what we need to understand now to understand what exactly is going on. So I'll actually read this to you because this was quite enlightening to me, to explain a little bit more of what's going on in the MAXX series. Just these simple 2 panels here. So her dad is Mr. Gone, right? So who's, you know, apparently, even though the MAXX killed him and stuff, was basically like a psychotherapist or something. Julie's psychotherapist. I'm not 100% sure, but this should clear some stuff up. Max, we have to talk. I listened to Dad's tapes. They told me everything. That night, it wasn't our bodies that joined. It was our minds. We had each other's dreams. I know who you are. But more important, I know what you've got to do. We have to go back where it started in this world, but at the same time, you have to go into the outback as yourself. You have to bring on the headache, go towards the noise, control the process. Can you at least try, Dave? So she calls him Dave. So I guess that's his name in the real world. So here he is. Why did she call me that? Ugh, it started, so the headache, right? So I guess she knows that his real name in life is Dave. He still clearly either doesn't remember or doesn't want to know, I guess. And look, another example of this, you know, the MAXX design on his mask here just becoming just one long stripe along the way. I love all these Sam Kieth textures he adds to his forehead. Always cool. Over here as well. Very graphic. He just is not afraid to warp things and go cartoony and play around with it. Love the fact that he's willing to experiment and try some crazy stuff. Because art-wise, you know, whatever I think of the story, art-wise, he's always pulling it off, and the book always looks great. So yeah, so he basically is able to get back to the outback, right? And this is what I'm talking about, is this is more of the stuff I wanted to see with this series, right? The outback stuff. And now I'm getting it. I've been complaining for the past few reviews about this, and I'm finally getting it. And it's still a little surreal and weird, and I'm okay with that. I love surreal and weird. That's not the problem I had with it. The problem I had with the series was it was just focusing too much on secondary characters and not on the MAXX. I don't mind if they do it once in a while, but the series was really moving away, where here it pulls back to him in a big way. And here he is, takes off his mask. Julie, the Jungle Queen, asks him to do it, and we see that, yes, indeed, he is a rabbit. So I have to assume it's a reference to the rabbit that she saved as a kid, that her mother eventually, because of the broken leg or busted up leg, had to kill herself to put the rabbit out of its misery. So probably a reference to that, right? When Julie was a kid. This was a few issues ago in one of the reviews. I like, it's interesting that the way he throws these floral kind of hippie patterns into her hair here. I think that's interesting. Graphically, it's kind of different and fun. So it's acknowledged officially the MAXX is a rabbit, at least, you know, in a surrealist kind of outback kind of way, right? We're not quite sure. You know, there's also the other component of him. That's the guy called Dave, right? So he's a rabbit, but he's also Dave. We'll learn more about that. But, you know, it is, I guess, official that somewhere, you know, we've talked about how the MAXX is Julie's spirit animal, and that connection with the rabbit as when she was a kid, it makes sense that would be her spirit animal. So puts the mask back on, but still has the bunny ears. I guess he's kind of implying the bunny ears kind of, you know, disappear away here. That's kind of phallic shaped there. It's unfortunate, but maybe on purpose. And this whole thing is there's kind of a Frazetta vibe to it, right? Which is cool. I love Frank Frazetta. You know, this is the barbarian chick here in her skimpy clothes. And they get on a floating board here and just float above and over the skulls. So, like I said, just this, what I've been waiting for is just some more outback adventures. The surrealist aspect of it, the fantasy and stuff, I think is great. You know, give me more of this stuff. And the visuals too. I mean, you know, when he's doing the stuff, not that the other stuff is bad, I've said it, all his art is very evocative, but it feels maybe like he's having more fun here. You know, it's an air whale skeleton. Really, really using those air whales, but I think that's cool. It's a cool concept, the air whale. Always thought it would, like, as a kid, you know, to read darker image, I think is the first time we see that. I think I was 11, maybe 12. And just to see an air whale and that idea, I was like, whoa, it just kind of blew me away. It was so different and weird, at least at that time. Now, you know, I've gone into Jodorowsky and stuff and more surrealist movies and comics. But back then it was kind of my first kind of foray into surrealism and kind of weird ideas. And Sam Kieth, that image was definitely the weird guy, you know, if we can put it that way. Not in a bad sense, you know, it just makes his art cooler. So this we're seeing now is what's actually happening in the real world while the MAXX is hallucinating about the outback. These two shots, definitely photo reference, maybe light boxed, and I would say done by the assistant. He's trying to do a little bit of the Sam Kieth aesthetic, and but I mean, whatever aesthetic he's using here does work really well with Sam Kieth no matter what. So I think as an assistant, this Jim Sinclair guy is probably helping him out and doing a good job and keeping everything aesthetically consistent. So yeah, some more fantasy adventure stuff. I love it. Just when, you know, dear Lord, I can't talk. Sam Kieth does weird shapes for anything. Weird shape for like a mountaintop kind of place. Weird shapes for creatures. You know, there's a distinctive Sam Kieth use of shapes, I guess is how I'd best describe it. And weird topply shapes in this case, right? This whole sequence is just very cool. I like how sometimes, you know, he's got like the white background, negative space. He's got the colors, you know, and then he'll just hit us with a black kind of border in the negative space. Not quite sure why here, but it looks cool. Frames things a bit better, I guess. And the idea that there's like a pool when they get to the top there, I think is, again, very cool and surrealist. Very fantasy oriented. I love it. And he leaves us again. I'll mention this last splash page. Part pen and ink, part painting. Looks awesome. I love it. It's got that, again, Sam Kieth with a slight Frazetta vibe to it. A little weird how they incorporated the flowers in the hair here. I feel that was done digitally, so I'm not sure it works as well as what we've seen before. But at least they didn't forget him for continuity's sake. I love that he's dropping the lines in some places, and it's just the coloring underneath, you know. Some more great mixed media here. And I'm wondering if there's that much painting going on. Maybe it's all digital, but it's like digital painting. I don't know how else to describe it, but Sam Kieth just would do some stuff like this. I guess he left it open for the colorist. And the digital effect in the pool is a little off-putting from the rest of it. Like maybe not so well integrated into the Sam Kieth style, but there's a bit of reflection that's being used from this stuff. So it's kind of a cool effect. It's a fun page. I think it's very experimental and try some different stuff. And it looks pretty cool overall. So they leave us with this, you know, they get to the top. Max says, hey, it's just water. Silly rabbit, that's just on top. And silly rabbit is obviously a reference to the cereal Trix, right? And the Trix bunny. If you know about that in the 90s, are Trix still around? I have no idea. Underneath, there's something that wants to come up. So I guess we're going to find out next issue what that is. So we've got some more fan art here being sent to the MAXX. I feel a lot of it is still kind of copied from Sam Kieth, right? Like this guy's really just redrawn a MAXX pose by Sam Kieth. I feel like this guy's done something original, a little bit different. It's back and bigger than ever. San Diego Comic-Con 95. It's an interesting kind of ad for San Diego. Don't know who drew this. It's kind of a definitely Kirby inspired to a certain extent, right? Kirby would do these kind of illustrations in the 70s and 80s for these Comic Cons, right? So maybe there's a bit of that inspiration there. The MAXX, more fan art here in color. Nothing really stands out that much. Maybe this guy here, Andrea, maybe it's a lady, sorry, Menoja. Pretty cool. Armature was a Steve Olive character who just, I don't know if they ever actually made a comic with him, but, you know, not that it looks that interesting. Next issue of The Others. I didn't even know there were ads for that Jim Valentino was running ads for his secondary titles for Shadowline Entertainment, right? I think it was called. Weapon Zero, no interest. Backlash, no interest either. And here's the head-to-head section. So I mentioned they started this last episode. So I guess it was kind of working here. So we'll see how long it lasts. We've got at least 2 months worth here. You know, kind of a precursor to what the internet would become. and it was right around the corner. So that's why I'm wondering how long this lasted. I guess we'll find out as we move along these next few MAXX issues. And one last color depiction of the MAXX by Dan Roman, New Babylon, New York. There you have it, guys. That is my review of the MAXX issue 17. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, throw them down in the comment box below. If you're subscribed and you're still watching videos and following the channel, thank you so much for your loyalty. I really appreciate it. If you're watching videos but you're not subscribed, please do so below. It takes only about half a second. It really helps out the channel, helps get us out there to other like-minded people who are into the same thing that we are, namely comic books. Everyone out there, thank you so much for your support, and have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.